I'll start at the beginning because, honestly, that's where it all begins, right? You grow up thinking your life is on one track, that people are trustworthy and good at their core. But what I didn't know as a kid was that life throws curveballs, and people, they're not always who you think they are. I grew up in a small, quiet town with two loving parents. They weren't rich by any means, but they made sure I had everything I needed. My dad, a no-nonsense type of guy, worked at the local auto shop, fixing cars from dawn till dusk. He taught me to work hard, respect others, and keep my word. Mom was a schoolteacher. She was warm, always full of love, and constantly reminding me to follow my heart. I had a close relationship with both of them, and they always encouraged me to aim high. As a teenager, I was pretty straightforward, focused on sports and my grades. I had a solid group of friends, but my best friend, Vincent, was different. We met in middle school, and we clicked immediately. He was outgoing, charismatic, the kind of guy who could talk his way out of anything. Where I was cautious, Vincent was bold. His parents, on the other hand, were never around. They had money, lots of it, but their relationship with him was shallow. They gave him things to compensate for their absence, so Vincent learned early on that material stuff was more important than people. We went to college together, and that's where I met Emily. She was beautiful, smart, and had this air of confidence that pulled me in. Emily came from a broken home. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her dad remarried, leaving her and her mom to fend for themselves. She was close with her mom but had a strained relationship with her dad, who always made her feel like she wasn't good enough. That's why, I think, she was drawn to me. I offered her the stability and security she never had growing up. Our relationship in college was perfect, or so I thought. We were that couple everyone looked at and said, they've got it all figured out. We got married right after graduation, and I felt like life was lining up just how it should. I had a stable job in finance, and Emily went into marketing. We were happy, or at least I was. The first few years of marriage were great. We were still young, still figuring life out, but we made it work. Vincent was still a big part of our lives too. We all hung out regularly, and I liked how well he and Emily got along. It felt like everything was in place. But as the years went by, things started to change. Emily grew more distant, and our conversations became shorter, more about logistics than love. We didn't fight often, but that's what made it harder to see what was really happening. I figured we were just going through a rough patch, the way couples do. I never guessed there was something, or someone, else in the picture. Looking back now, I can see the cracks. Emily started working late more often. She'd spend hours on her phone, saying she was just keeping up with friends or checking emails. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I trusted her completely. And Vincent, well, he was still my best friend. He had been through every major moment of my life, so when he was around, I never felt the need to question anything. Then came the day everything unraveled. It was purely by accident that I discovered the truth. One night, Emily was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have even glanced at it, but something made me look. And there it was. A message from Vincent that I'll never forget. I can't stop thinking about you. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe it was a joke, some inside thing I didn't understand. But when I opened the thread, it all came crashing down. The messages were explicit, intimate, and they'd been going on for years, 3 years, to be exact. My wife and my best friend had been sleeping together behind my back for 3 fucking years. I remember feeling numb, like the air had been sucked out of the room. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. The betrayal was so deep, so raw, that it left me paralyzed. I confronted Emily that night. I walked into the bathroom while she was still in the shower and threw her phone at her. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. She knew. She knew instantly that I had found out. Her face went pale, and she started crying, but the tears didn't move me. I was too angry, too hurt. She tried to explain, saying it was a mistake, that she didn't know how it had happened. But how do you accidentally cheat for 3 years? How do you accidentally sleep with your husband's best friend? Things got worse when she dropped the bombshell that she was pregnant. And here's the kicker. She didn't know if the baby was mine or Vincent's. That's when everything inside me shattered. I couldn't stay. I couldn't live with the uncertainty, the lies, the betrayal. I left that night and never looked back. But I wasn't done. Emily and Vincent weren't going to get away with this, not after everything they had done to me. I spent the next few months planning my revenge. It was slow, calculated. I wasn't going to let them ruin my life without facing the consequences. It all came to a head at our family reunion. I stood up in front of everyone, our parents, siblings, cousins, and revealed everything. I handed out copies of the explicit texts between Emily and Vincent, letting everyone see just how low they had sunk. The shock on their faces was priceless. Emily and Vincent had no idea what was coming, and the look of horror as everyone read through their disgusting messages was exactly what I needed to feel whole again. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. A few months after the reunion, my grandfather passed away. He'd always been a man of few words, but there was no doubt that he loved me. I had no idea how much, though, until his will was read. My grandfather had left me an inheritance of $2 million. To say I was stunned would be an understatement. It was like a lifeline, an opportunity to start fresh without the crushing burden of debt or financial stress that had weighed me down, especially after my marriage had fallen apart. I saw it as the universe's way of giving me a chance to rebuild my life. And that's exactly what I did. I used that money to build a new life, one that didn't include Emily or Vincent. As for them, they didn't last. Vincent cheated on Emily too, and their relationship fell apart just like ours did. Poetic justice, I guess. In the end, I got my revenge, and I got to walk away with my dignity and $2 million. But Emily? Oh, she wasn't going to let go that easily. I was a few months into enjoying my newfound freedom when Emily suddenly showed up at my doorstep. I hadn't seen her much since the reunion, and I thought she was out of my life for good, tangled up with Vincent. But there she was, looking sheepish and strangely vulnerable. At first, I couldn't figure out what her angle was. Why would she come crawling back after everything she'd done? It didn't take long for me to realize the real reason behind her unexpected visit. Word had gotten around about my inheritance. It's funny how fast news like that travels. As soon as she found out about the money, Emily's tone shifted. Gone was the defiant, guiltless woman who had torn apart my life. In her place stood someone desperate, remorseful, and frankly pathetic. She wanted me back. She started rambling on about how she missed me, how she had made a mistake, and how she wanted to give our marriage another chance. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. I'd spent years being the faithful husband, doing everything I could to make things work, only to find out that she'd been sleeping with my best friend for 3 years. Now, she was standing in front of me, asking me to take her back, as if she hadn't destroyed everything we had. I didn't even bother playing nice. I cut her off mid-apology and laughed in her face. "You think I'm stupid, Emily?" I asked. "You think I don't know this is about the money?" She tried to deny it, of course. She said all the right things. How it wasn't about the money, how she loved me, how she regretted everything. But I could see through her lies. I'd seen her true colors when she betrayed me, and there was no going back from that. "Why don't you go see how Vincent's doing?" I asked, smirking. "Oh wait, I forgot. He cheated on you too, didn't he?" That shut her up real fast. It was true, and I knew it. After I exposed their affair at the reunion, things between Emily and Vincent had fallen apart quickly. Their so-called love wasn't built on anything real. It was just lust and lies. Vincent, being the snake he was, couldn't even stay loyal to her after she blew up her marriage for him. He started sleeping around, and before long, Emily found herself in the same position I had been in, betrayed and alone. The best part? She had no one to turn to. Vincent didn't want her, and neither did I. She was left to pick up the pieces of her life, but this time, she didn't have a safety net. And I'll be honest, watching her go through that was satisfying in the most twisted way. Karma had come full circle, and I couldn't help but relish it. I found out through mutual friends that things between Emily and Vincent had gotten nasty. They fought constantly, and it wasn't long before Vincent left her for someone else. She was stuck raising a child, whose paternity was still uncertain, by the way, all on her own. The very life she had ruined mine for had crumbled around her, and I didn't feel a shred of sympathy. Meanwhile, I was moving on. With my inheritance, I was able to invest in a few business ventures and set myself up for a comfortable future. But money wasn't the only thing that changed for me. After everything that happened, I was wary of trusting anyone, especially women. For a while, I didn't even bother dating. I was happy being on my own, focusing on myself, and enjoying the peace that came with cutting toxic people out of my life. Then I met Sarah. Sarah was different. We met through work. She was a consultant I hired for one of my business projects, and from the beginning, there was something about her that put me at ease. She was kind, honest, and had strong morals. She wasn't interested in my money or trying to manipulate me. We started off as friends, and over time, that friendship blossomed into something more. The best part was that Sarah came from a solid family background. She was close to her parents, who had been married for over 40 years, and she had strong values about loyalty and commitment. She knew about my past with Emily, and she never judged me for it. If anything, she admired the way I had handled it all. We took things slow, but eventually, I knew she was the one. Unlike Emily, Sarah wasn't interested in games or deception. She loved me for who I was, not for what I could give her. After a couple of years together, we got married in a small, intimate ceremony with only our closest family and friends. I never thought I'd get married again after what happened with Emily, but Sarah changed all of that. As for Emily, well, life didn't get much better for her. She tried reaching out a few more times after I rejected her at the doorstep, but I never responded. She was stuck raising a child on her own, dealing with the fallout from her affair. From what I heard, she bounced around between jobs and had a hard time making ends meet. Vincent had completely cut her off, and she was left to fend for herself. Karma, as they say, is a bitch. Watching Emily and Vincent suffer the consequences of their actions was the sweetest revenge I could have asked for. I didn't have to lift a finger. Their lives fell apart on their own. And as I moved on, built a new life with Sarah, and enjoyed the stability and happiness I had longed for, Emily was left with nothing but regrets. In the end, I walked away with my dignity, my peace of mind, and the $2 million my grandfather had left me. Emily and Vincent, on the other hand, got exactly what they deserved. Some people might say that revenge isn't worth it, that it doesn't heal the wounds. But for me, watching them fall apart, knowing they had to live with the consequences of their betrayal, was all the closure I needed. I had won.